Incidentally, anyway, this is the second. The Hasgeek one was the first, but there now the second time that a book club starting off has taken the ball.
Okay, I'm gonna.
So that's like a big honor. So yeah.
So I'm just gonna mute everyone, and then guys unmute yourselves. When you have questions. Admit. Hi, Seema.
Gosh, you can see us all.
I can see your name.
Hello, Gautam.
I was just muted.
He's like desperately reading up on his what new things am I going to say.
No, I was actually just finishing an answer, which I mean the question was that books that have, I think, contemporary science fiction novels that have really in India addressed issues around gender.
Don't worry, go on. Tom, I'm so sorry. I'm gonna mute you.
Yeah, contemporary science fiction novels that have done really interesting things around gender and so on. And so examples I've given were Yoon Ha Lee's Machineries of Empire series, R.K.D. Martin's The Empire, and the book I'm reading right now is Rose Lemberg's The Four Profound Weaves, in which the two protagonists are trans. The two protagonists are transgender, and Rose Lemberg themselves are trans. So I think there's a lot of interesting stuff happening in contemporary speculative fiction around gender, in part because the community of writers is so diverse, and there's a lot. And I think it's always been the case that because science fiction allows you to imagine these alternatives, it also draws to it a very, very diverse community of writers, because it gives them the space to do all that. And I think that's...
I'm going to take these
I was wondering if I could add to that list and mention Seth Dickinson's Masquerade.
Yes.
Books.
Of course. What a fantastic series that is.
Which I thought, I mean, it's certainly, I'd never read such a detailed, diverse understanding of kind of in-world gender. And I think there were definitely times when I cried because of how Tawinde Bosoka was written, with just the automatic respect and dignity with which they were talked about. And yeah, sorry, just that.
Yeah, no, I mean, The Masquerade is just, I mean, if I would recommend that, to everyone in the world to read. That is such a good series. And to those who haven't read it, it's basically, it is fantasy that deals with colonialism, imperialism, and is really grounded, apart from doing all these very, very interesting and moving things with ideas of gender and hierarchies and even like mental issues around mental health and mental illness. Apart from that, it is one of the very few fantasy novels that takes the economy seriously, and a lot of it is really around the economy of colonialism, the economy of imperialism, and the fundamental plot points to do with actually not military warfare, although there is that, but kind of actually economic warfare, which you don't really often see in fantasy. So that's a plug from me, for that novel.
I mean, I would say the same, because I think all journalists should read that novel as well, simply because of how well and sensitively it's written. It would teach a lot of my brethren and sisterin about pronouns, and definitely about how to write beyond their own experience. Guys, now you're all new, so I'm just going to say Gautam is well known. He's the sci-fi writer, that's all I'm allowed to say these days. And we're discussing his book, The Wall, which is a speculative fiction novel. There's an excerpt on it. If you're here, you probably read it. Some people have read it in a day. Some people, like me, took a few days. Some people had to quit halfway because they were traumatized. Gautam, you traumatized them. I think it's something. I mean, I genuinely think you should take that as a compliment too. I was traumatized after The Deer Hunter.
Well, I mean, so there's this fantasy author called Rebecca Kuang, who's and she has written a fantasy series that is around the Chinese history of the Chinese-Japanese conflict, and all that people respond to her on Twitter is by saying I'm traumatized. That's literally like yeah. So yeah.
So you're in good company.
Yeah.
So does anyone have a question for Gautam? He's used to grilling, so I think it's time that he got some grilling. We've got 40 minutes, guys.
There have been questions already, so yeah, but yeah, carry on.
We did discuss before a lot of new people joined and we were cut off by Zoom. We discussed the fact that he chose an LGBT community protagonist, and the fact that he chose that, as he quite rightly said, as actually the more realistic choice than having so many sci-fi novels, and really all novels about white men. Because as we know, and as they like to tell us, they're in the minority now. I hope no one is hearing this in England.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, does anybody else have questions that they would like to ask of Gautam, of perhaps his book, or perhaps if you'd like to ask questions on the process of sci-fi writing? You could ask him about law, but he's trying to distance himself from that profession at the moment. I just started warming up. I think now people are shy.
Yeah. Starting off, it was going. It was in a good.
Oh,
yeah, people were warming up. So yeah.
Are there any good solutions for mainstream media right now? Yes. Are there any solutions for mainstream media right now?
Is that a question?
Yeah, it's being sent privately to me. I think
it's a question more for you than for me.
Don't think so. I'm not on the grilling seat today. And by SOL, Devansh, you do mean solutions, right? Yes. For me. Oh, wait, that is a question for me, isn't it? Seema! You must say, I'm not here.
Oh no, I had a general question. I must confess, I have bought Gautam's book and it's lying by my bedside, and I have not started it. So I'm guilty of that. But I've bought it. It's with me. I was intrigued by this comment which came in a lot of reviews on this collection of sci-fi, South Asian sci-fi, and there were 2 compendiums that came out, I think, last year. And the comment was that they were sort of almost like dealing with the present. So all the horror, all that awful stuff was actually happening. So, has our imagination been kind of almost gobsmacked by reality, Gautam? Do you find yourself being upended by reality? Would you have liked to? I mean, how does somebody in sci-fi handle that? I mean, how do you get better than the present?
Yeah, I mean, like this is a great question, and I think it's also a riff of something I think Mukul asked when the previous kind of window was open before it shut. There are two kinds of there are many kinds of science fiction, but I mean in this context 2 kinds. One is that actually tries to imagine a trajectory from the world as it exists today to the world that is painted in that particular novel or book. Samit Basu's Chosen Spirits, is the most recent example of that. It's set in a Delhi 20 years from now. And then today, in fact, he posted some screenshots from the book that were eerily prescient with respect to this whole
Bombay.
So those books tend to like be perilous enterprises because they can age badly very quickly depending on how the world pans out. Interestingly, the Trump's nominee to the Supreme Court, Amy Coney Barrett, is part of a Catholic society that was a direct inspiration for Margaret Atwood's The Handmaid's Tale. So I mean, so you can say The Handmaid's Tale, well, unfortunately, seems to be aging well. But so I think so that's one kind of science fiction, speculative fiction. But that's not what I was trying to do. As I told Mukul and we discussed, the science fiction that interests me much more is when you take the world as you know it, you take something that is so natural to that world that you don't even think about it, and you alter that, and then ask yourself, what would that world look like if there's something so basic was not there, or was in a different way. Isaac Asimov's Nightfall is the example of that, where you have six suns in the sky, so there's no concept of nightfall apart from it happening once in 2,500 years. And then how would the world respond when night comes for that one generation in like 100 generations? Similarly, the wall is this idea that if you were physically bounded within walls, that your literal movement was restricted. Something we take for granted so much in the world we live in, even though not all of us can at all times move, but it is a world we are in and not like a bounded space. Then how would society change? How would people respond to that? And so that was kind of the fundamental conceit of the wall. So that fortunately or unfortunately doesn't change with how our world is changing. And so I don't have to worry about how well it's aging or how accurately I've predicted what may happen in the coming years, fortunately or unfortunately. So yeah.
Yes. Okay, thanks.
I thought that was such a good question, because I think last year a lot of, especially Leela was the book where
yeah.
That was not traumatizing. Where is Prayag?
Yeah, Prayag Akbar's Leela is an excellent example of near future.
For sure. I think in my review I even wrote where he says he called them repeaters, and I was like, it's such a good spin-off of retweeters because really the story suffer these things. I don't know if he meant it.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the thing, right? And it's also correct. There are many of the stories in the Golanks anthology of science fiction, South Asian science fiction, which came out last year, are in a certain sense clearly impacted by the world we live in, and are mostly pessimistic about it. But there are a lot of stories in that anthology that are really seem to be riffing off direction we are going in, and in pessimistic ways. And of course, that's an interesting subgenre of science fiction, but it's not something that has ever really gripped my interest. I think there's so much more you can do with the genre that it's a bit limiting to try and think of our world and how it might go in the immediate future. When there's so much more you can think and imagine in the spaces that the genre gives to you.
It's a spin-off of Seema's question. There have been several articles which have recently come out which are asking this question: is dystopian science fiction good for us?
Is that a question in chat or?
No. I mean, I was recently reading one, and I had to pick it up because I didn't know that we could ask these questions off the world even anymore. Is a particular kind of fiction good for us?
Yeah, I mean, no, I think it's a really good question, and as I said, like I am not a fan of dystopic fiction. I think the world has enough sorrows, right? And there's enough heartbreak in the actual world, and just writing something that mirrors that or even makes it worse, to me, like again in a genre that allows you to imagine alternatives and so much else. And Ursula Le Guin says this. She, in one of her last speeches before she passed away, she very categorically said that the task of speculative fiction writers is to imagine alternatives to the way that we live. And her own writing career is testament to that. So, I mean, I have nothing against dystopias. I mean, and people do them brilliantly, and they clearly serve a certain need. But I do think that if we are choosing to write fiction, then why would we choose to just mirror all the worst tendencies, of the world around us, when the scope for imagining something else is there, and there's enough also in the world that allows us to do that. It's never uniformly dystopic. I remember that a few years ago I was reviewing the Clarke Award finalists, and one thing that stood out was how they were all kind of ambiguous utopias, in that they weren't full-on dystopic, nor were they optimistic, but it was something in the middle. And I think that middle is where you find some of the best contemporary speculative fiction. It's not foolishly optimistic, it's not utopian, but at the same time, it doesn't give in to a counsel of despair either.
So Gautam and I both like sci-fi fiction, and I like a lot of sci-fi bad television as well, which I know semi avoids. And I think one of the things, tell me if this is not true for you, when you start reading sci-fi, apart from the fact that it catches your imagination, one of the nicest things about it is this sense of a hero, a story, sense of justice, and the hope that it brings. Like, I mean, people may say a lot of stuff about Star Trek, but it brings like a hope into the world. Nowhere near Ursula Le Guin's Dispossessed, and so I mean, it won't get you there, but there is that sense. And as Seema said, sort of dystopian fiction, and in this conversation that we're talking about, dystopian fiction, would you say that it sort of does tend to take away our ability to sort of imagine a better world? Especially if you're surrounded by it, all the time. And these days, dystopian fiction is almost fact.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great question, and my answer to that is yes. And I also want to complicate it a little bit more,
Yes.
Which is that so dystopian fiction, what you're saying is correct, but I think there's also an issue with this idea of the hero, and I see that a lot, and I've also written about that elsewhere in some of my reviews. You see it a lot even in good progressive contemporary speculative fiction, where the problems or the perils of the world are overcome by the extraordinarily courageous action of a few individuals. This is, of course, kind of in continuation of the whole superhero, kind of trope. Of course, it's much more nuanced and much better done in in science fiction novels than, say, like in a typical superhero movie. But the basic underlying premise is still that if only there was a savior, that savior would save us. And our problem is that there is no savior. That's what we're lacking. In the play Galileo, in Brecht's play Galileo, there's a line at the end where someone says that unhappy is the land that has no hero, to which Galileo's reply is unhappy is the land that needs a hero, right? So I think that not enough contemporary speculative fiction pays attention to the fact that ultimately, if injustices are to be overcome, it'll always require a collective effort, and solidarity is kind of the governing value there, not an epic struggle that's undertaken by a few on behalf of the world. So I think that even progressive, good, non-dystopic science fiction, I think, tends to fall into that trap of making the conflict or the turning point being about this conflict between individuals and not a more for example, there's something I was discussing recently with someone else. How often do you see trade unions in science fiction, right? They just don't exist. So and that's just an example of this kind of really big, I think, blind spot that's there in contemporary speculative fiction. It is changing as well, but not fast enough, I think, and you need to see more of that.
I think everyone else, we have a lot of new people. I'm almost none of the same people that we had before. So this is kind of cool. It's like a new party we're at.
Yeah.
This is a question for both Avantika and Gautam. This is Seema. Of the various genres of speculative fiction, sci-fi that you track quite religiously, I read what you all comment on. Which is the most exciting space currently? Is it the Arab world? Is it China? Have you ever done a grading of that?
I actually haven't, but if you would ask me, I've genuinely started enjoying, and I seek out authors from Australia and New Zealand and I don't want to say Africa, but African authors, because there are a few and sort of their sci-fi fiction is underrated personally, but certain Africa, like there's Kenyan authors who write really well and Nigerian authors whose names I can send you. Gautam will tell you I'm terrible with names and anything because I misspelled his character's name in my review 3 times. But I'll send you. But what I always look for is a voice beyond what I'm normally reading. And we are always sort of reading. I mean, if you ask me what I grew up reading white men, and Enid Blyton was my first, and that is also a white woman. And I didn't know what a scone was. quite recently.
Or Shepherd's
Shepherd's
pie.
pie, right? They never tell you that that tastes like it is ketchup.
Not pie.
But yeah, so I'm always looking for voices that are sort of not. Australia these days, I watch a lot more TV than I read speculative fiction books. Gotham, Prague are books which I made exceptions for. But for me, I always look for, like, even in, let's say, TV, I look for sort of Australian television and stuff from Tasmania, because they're doing really fabulous. Not just are they doing it really fabulous, they have different stories to tell, and different experiences sort of from us. So I haven't really ever ranked speculative fiction. I think Gotham would be the right person to ask on that.
Yeah, I mean, so I definitely say that that China and the African continent, countries in Africa, are the two places where there's cutting edge stuff happening right now. China, of course, I mean, ever since Cixin Liu kind of burst onto the scene with the three-body problem, it just exploded. And in fact, not from on my shelf, okay, it's somewhere inside. Ted Chiang's Exhalation, the series of short stories, is brilliant. Ken Liu has brought out multiple anthologies of contemporary Chinese science fiction, which are brilliant, and I would really recommend getting copies of that. No, it's not on my shelf right now. Oh yeah, it is. Yeah, Ken Liu has got The Paper, Manegri, and Other Stories. So that's a great collection, and he has also published anthologies of contemporary Chinese writing. There was a fantastic book I reviewed for Strange Horizons recently called Waste Tide, which imagines an island of the Chinese coast where all the world's electronic waste goes. And it's just like it's excellent. So yeah, yeah, effectively. So China is definitely a place where a lot of stuff is happening. There was a short story called Folding Beijing in one of these Ken Liu collections, in which the city of Beijing has kind of like three parts, and they get sunlight relative to their class status. So top one gets it for 12 hours, and then 8, and then 4 hours, and the city turns every time, and that is like that messes with your mind, like that story. So it's just like it completely screws with your mind. So yeah, that's one space. African continent and countries in Africa, there's amazing stuff coming out from there. So for the Strange Horizons magazine, which I edit, I'm presently editing a series called 100 African Writers of Science Fiction. And we've been editing this series for the last 3 or 4 years. It's a bunch of interviews with 120 odd young African science fiction writers.
Just mute us all, Avantika.
There we go.
Yeah. So yeah.
We're done.
Yeah. So in the African continent, so there's a guy called Sui Davies who just finished wrote a book called David Mogo God Hunter that is set in contemporary Lagos, and it features the Yoruba pantheon, and it's brilliant. Jennifer Makumbi's Kintu, which has taken the world by storm, is kind of borderline magical realism, and the real world. In fact, the Clark Award winner this year, which was announced 2 days ago, was Namwali Serpil's The Old Drift, which is set in Zambia, and that's also a fantastic novel. So yeah, I mean, I'd say the African continent and China are two places which are really some amazing stuff coming out. So it's very, very rooted in those places. And for China, I gave some names, and for Africa, if you're interested, just check out the 100 African.
Yeah, I'll check out your Strange Horizons as well.
And of course, India's kind of also bit by bit maybe creeping forward. Yeah. So hopefully,
I think it's becoming a lot more accepted. I just want to add, because I want to name some of the female authors that I have really liked. One, I would definitely suggest reading Everfair. It's by Nissi Shawl. It's truly good. It's super fun. I'm not going to ruin it for you, because these are the sort of novels that you want to get into the world building. You don't want to know the story from me. And there's another novel which I read. I'm not sure if the author is from the African continent. I do know that she's Black. It's called Cinderella's Debt. It's really fab. It's a space fiction, which is kind of my favorite. I really do appreciate anything that's set in space. It makes me very excited. And it's a really fun, interesting, not despite what the title recommends, not a Guys, I'm really happy with
Snickers. 2 dicks in my ass. 3 dicks.
I don't know what is this. Is this is
it's a sign that a call is going well when you start getting really weird people that you did not invite joining.
Yeah. No, I think the Twitter, putting it on Twitter, I think, yeah.
Yeah,
so,
it's always dangerous.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous place.
Yeah.
That's why we don't.
Yeah. Also, Jennifer Makumbi and Namwali Sripal are both women.
Yes.
So just to add to that list, yeah.
Definitely. And Seema, if you're still around, we can lend you these books. Just let us come to your office and get some books from there also.
No, I'll check out a lot of these that you mentioned and maybe just ask you guys for more specific ones too. Thanks, though.
We will. I'll make sure to write this down as a list as well, and put it up as a post of books that Gotham recommended.
Great.
We're running out of time again. There are 10 minutes left. Guys, if anyone has more questions of Gotham, I know we want to spend more time with him, but Ruby, I can't extend this longer either. And I think he and I both.
Fair.
So, do you guys have any questions about speculative fiction, his book, The Wall? When is the second part coming out? Why he was so cheeky with this cliffhanger? May I say, as a story, he was so cheeky that when he found out I was reading it, he was like, "Do tell me about the end. What do you think?" And I got to it, and I was like, "Don't tell me anything. What are you doing now? I know to look for the end." And I read it, and I was like, "You not an end." This is not.
Next one's out middle of next year. The draft is done. It's in edits. I'm editing it right now. There's a finished draft. The finished draft will go to the publisher on December 15th. That's my hard deadline. And given the processes that follow, it takes about 5 or 6 months for it to be actually published.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So we should see it, and hopefully it will not feel surreal by next year.
Yeah. Fingers crossed.
So guys, again, it's just a couple of minutes left, and then we all sort of have to disperse into our Sundays, though this has been so much fun. I want to thank Gotham, and I want to thank all the people who came, minus all the weird people with the weird music, and also the people who came for the last meeting. We're so sorry that it got cut off.
No, thank you for hosting this. Thank you for picking The Wall as the first novel, and I'll hope to come for the next meetings of the book club.
We're choosing right now by vote, so make sure to vote.
Oh, awesome!
It's a democratic process.
Will do. Yeah, thanks so much as well.
Guys, does anyone have any more questions? And if not, then this is about to end in sort of 7 minutes, and I don't want to sound like I'm super busy because I'm not, but I have a meeting and I have a deadline. And I'm late, as always. But the thing, Gautam's book will be out. The Wall is out. It's available on Amazon. I have a Kindle version. I fully want to buy the hardcover version because he owes me several signatures. I have a pen also, which I had to put by as a signature. Including that little comment you wrote in your blog about my review. For people joining now. Hi, new people. We have 7 minutes left in this meeting. And if you would like to ask any questions of the author about speculative fiction, his new novel, The Wall, the process of writing fiction, or recommendations, or if you have any legal troubles. Sorry, don't do that. Please feel free to ask now. Otherwise, or just laugh. I think everyone's kind of talked out.
Okay, yeah, sure, we can
It's
close.
been an
Yeah.
hour. It's been an hour
Yeah.
since we've all
Yeah.
been doing this. So
Yeah.
definitely, I cannot recommend it enough. And I don't often say that. What the? I'm never putting anything on Twitter again. Yeah, so I definitely cannot recommend the book enough. You
The
guys,
story में कौन था जनता और
I don't
Why does everyone who drop in always have like music playing in the background? This is weird.
जनता wants to know.
Oh, okay. What does the judge? I have a feeling that's just a nation wants to know comment.
Yeah.
So I think it's time to close the meeting before.
I have a chemistry doubt in class 12. Will you answer?
Oh my,
Yes,
you
we
were
told you
pick up chemistry only. I was the worst. What's wrong with you?
How to write a book? How to write a book?
Very, very slowly.
Will you give your book for free?
Never. Say never. I think it's time to close this meeting because we've opened it up to a lot of people that are not interested anymore.
Yeah, cool, awesome. Thanks, and
Yes.
see you all around.
Thank you. Bye, guys. Make sure to get his book
Bye.
and make sure to read my review, which will be up in Scroll soon.
At some point in the
At
distant
some
future.
point. Don't say this. Lunava's going to watch this and hit us. Bye, guys. See you.
Bye.